Today, we're diving into one of the most insane machine guns in history, the MG-42, also known as Hitler's buzzsaw. The beast fired up to 1,200 rounds per minute, terrified soldiers with its roaring sound, and was so good that other countries literally copied it. We'll break down how it works, its crazy history, and whether video games got it right or wrong. Let's start at the very beginning and learn about the origins of this machine gun. At the start of World War II, Nazi Germany's primary general-purpose machine gun was the MG-34, developed in the early 1930s. Despite its advantages, it had two major drawbacks. It was highly demanding in terms of operator skill and ammunition quality, and it was extremely labor-intensive and expensive to produce. This made it difficult to meet the needs of Germany's rapidly expanding army. As a result, the MG-42 was developed to replace it. The new machine gun was created by the little-known company Johannes Grossfuss Metal and Lacwarren Fabric in the town of Durban. It was intended to replace the MG-34, which was used by the Wehrmacht SS Luftwaffe. The new weapon was officially adopted by the Nazis in April 1942. Production of the MG-42 continued in Germany until the end of the war, with at least 400,000 units manufactured. However, despite its flaws, production of the MG-34 was never completely discontinued, even after the war, because it had some design advantages over the MG-42, such as the ability to feed ammunition belts from either side. This made it more suitable for mounting on vehicles. The MG-42 was designed with specific requirements in mind. It needed to be as cheap as possible to produce, extremely reliable, and have high firepower, up to 20 to 25 rounds per second. Although some parts of the MG-34 were used to ease the transition to the new model, the MG-42 was largely an original system with impressive combat characteristics. To simplify and reduce manufacturing costs, engineers removed certain features such as the ability to feed the belt from either side, magazine feeding, and a fire mode selector. As a result, the number of parts was significantly reduced, cutting production costs by about 30% compared to the MG-34 and reducing metal consumption by 50%. For reference, the MG-34 cost the Wehrmacht 300 Reichsmarks at the time. However, the MG-42 had its own disadvantages compared to the MG-34. It could not fire single shots and had a shorter service life, but these trade-offs were the direct result of cost-cutting measures. Now, let's break down how this machine gun operates and examine its characteristics. Inside the MG-42 is a longer trigger mechanism extending almost to the stock. When the trigger is pulled, the spring releases, striking the cartridge's primer, causing it to fire. The gunpowder gases push the firing pin back, which in turn activates a mechanism that feeds the next cartridge from the belt into the chamber. The cycle then repeats. The MG-42 weighs 11.5 kilograms, has a total length of 1.2 meters, and originally used the 7.92 by 57mm Mauser cartridge until 1950, when it was later adapted to the 7.62 by 51mm NATO round. The standard belt size was usually 50 rounds for easier handling and replacement. The rate of fire reached 900 to 1,200 rounds per minute, with a muzzle velocity of 1,000 meters per second. It was effective at a range of 400 meters against single target and up to 600 meters against groups of enemies. Despite its advantages, the MG-42 inherited a major issue from the MG-34, barrel overheating due to sustained fire. To address this, engineers designed the barrel to be easily detachable and replaceable. The barrel could be released by unlocking a special clamp. Soldiers using the MG-42 were issued spare barrels along with their ammo boxes, the standard practice requiring changing the barrel every 150 rounds or every 3 belts to prevent degradation of ballistic performance. The assistant gunner in a machine gun crew was responsible for carrying these spare barrels in a special container. If a barrel overheated too much, the cartridge could get stuck in the chamber, which was the last thing anyone wanted in battle. That's why barrel changes took only 20 to 30 seconds, depending on the soldier's experience. This process required just one free hand. To my knowledge, I've never covered another firearm in my videos that was so demanding in terms of maintenance. In addition to its known challenges, soldiers using the MG-42 voiced further complaints about the weapon. Many found the deafening noise and relentless muzzle blast not only disorienting but also damaging to hearing over prolonged engagements. The constant barrage of sound hindered effective communication on the battlefield, adding to crew stress. The extraordinary high rate of fire rapidly depleted ammunition supplies, leaving crews vulnerable during resupply lulls. Some soldiers also noted that the vigorous recoil, though manageable, contributed to physical fatigue during extended firefights. Moreover, the rapid wear of certain components necessitated frequent, strenuous maintenance under combat conditions often reported. Many have heard the Americans and Brits nickname the MG-42 Hitler's buzzsaw, while the Soviets called it the lawnmower. The Germans themselves refer to it as Hitler's saw. These names speak for themselves. It was a devastatingly effective weapon. Its distinctive roaring sound during firing was terrifying to enemy soldiers. Take a look at these 3 MG-42 photos on your screen. Notice anything odd? The trick is that all 3 are different machine guns. They are the American T-24, the Austrian MG-74, and the Yugoslavian Zastava M53. How did this happen? The T-24 was an American copy of the MG-42 developed during World War II because the US military admired the Nazi weapon. They tried adapting it for their own cartridge, but this ruined its performance. Accuracy dropped, range suffered, and even the American round itself was too long to work properly. In the end, the T-24 project was scrapped. As for the MG-74 and the Zastava M53, Austria and Yugoslavia simply took the MG-42, chambered it for their own rounds, and made minor adjustments, like adding single-shot fire in some versions. That was enough for them to classify it as a new machine gun. This raises an interesting question. Does copyright apply to weapons design? Because this case certainly makes it seem like anyone could just take an existing design and rebrand it. Finally, let's look at how the MG-42 is portrayed in video games and whether its characteristics are accurately represented. In Call of Duty, Vanguard, and Warzone Pacific, the MG-42 is depicted with various skins, scopes, and suppressors, features that didn't exist during World War II. Collimator sights? Unlikely. The game gives the MG-42 a 95-round magazine, whereas in reality, it mostly used 50-round belts, though 125-round drums existed. Damage-wise, it's hard to compare with real life, but one thing is certain, in reality, a person wouldn't survive 1 to 2 hits. In the game, however, you can take multiple hits and keep fighting as if nothing happened. In Battlefield 5, the portrayal is slightly more realistic, as it lacked flashy skins. However, the developers invented a 250-round magazine, which is completely unrealistic. To put this in perspective, one 7.92 by 57mm Mauser round weighs 28 grams, meaning a 250-round belt could weigh about 7 kilograms. The MG-42 itself weighs almost 12 kilograms. The soldier is supposedly carrying 2 of these 250-round drums. That means the soldier is running around with over 26 kilograms of gear, not including his own body armor and equipment. That's simply not feasible in reality. So yeah, Battlefield got this wrong too. What other games have you seen the MG-42 in? Drop a comment below.